Carl, I got to be honest. Prior to meeting you at Staffing World and talking to you a little bit, prepping for this conversation, I wasn't aware employee benefits were that big of an issue. Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really big issue. I would say, you're in the staffing industry. Employee benefits they're regarded by, and I think the way that we look at things at Benefits in a Card and FreeRx is that we try to look at it through the staffing company's eyes. And when you look at benefits, there's a bunch of things that we might, as providers, might think is important to the staffing industry. But I'll tell you, after my 34 years in the industry now, the things that are important to staffing is retention. And today, especially more than ever, is finding the right people and attracting the right people. And, your labor market is thin. And people they're out there, they're looking for companies that care. So your benefits they not only show, you've got good benefits, effective day one, all of those critical markers, if you will. But the employees need to see that, and they need to be, and one of the things that we're doing actually with Haley, we just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago where we're working on how to help our clients market their benefits, not only to their prospects, but to their employees. And I don't think we've done a great job at helping our clients with that. And it's one of the things that I really want to see us improve on. And with your firm's help, we're going to accomplish that in short order. But I mean, when you've got the right package, you've got the right benefits, and you're doing the right thing for the people that are coming on with your company, they're going to see that. They're going to recommend more people. They're going to stay longer. I mean, our data shows us that over the last 30 years, people stay 4 to 5 weeks longer that elect benefits. So what that means is that we've got to have a great benefits package to show them. And we've also got to have that to show our prospects. That one-ups you against all your competition. So there's a myriad of reasons, but in the staffing industry's eyes, it's retention. And that drives profitability.
Is the issue that historically staffing firms are not providing benefits, that they're providing the wrong benefits? Walk me through that.
So for years, when we started the firm in 2000, there was really not, you had major medical offerings that were administered monthly. And then you had your AFLAC supplemental products where if you got hit by a buffalo at 1:00 on a Wednesday, you might get $50. And so we kind of invented this whole, weekly coverage and turning people on and off weekly. And one of the reasons we did that is because the staffing industry's turnover is so high at 419%, I think is the average now. And it's always been 400 and something percent, always. And so when we started designing these programs, we're like, the people that start the month aren't the people finishing the month. So if you're on a list bill, you've got a massive reconciliation issue at the end of every month, and it's a nightmare. So by turning people on and off weekly, what that also does is it helps your loss ratio. So if you're reporting monthly and you got people that are only working a half a month or a week out of that month, and the carrier is paying claims on those people when they're not paying premium, that affects your loss ratio. And that loss ratio is what drives your rate increases continuously. And we're very proud to say that managing our block, if you will, on a weekly basis, turning people on and off of coverage, has allowed us to keep our rates stable for over a decade. And that's one of the reasons why we came out with our 2-year rate guarantee, is because we had that rate stability. And, I personally, our firm, we had a 14% increase in our insurance last year. I just got my proposal came across this year. I'm staring down the barrel at a 16% increase. I'm looking at these guys at Blue Cross going, what are you thinking? I mean, that's 30% in 2 years, Brad. I mean, do you think inflation's high? I mean, that's incredible. 30%. So, you start doing that and you say, okay, in the next 2 years, if I'm going to go up another 30%, am I going to be able to even afford insurance for my people? And that's where it's starting to get to that point where companies are really having to weigh in. Can we do this? Can we not do this? And, it's a critical time for all of us.
So what do we do with that? I mean, in assuming that we do have to provide that coverage to our employees, What does the average staffing owner look to do?
Find a stable provider, and find someone that can guarantee you a 2-year rate lock. I mean, you've got you want to protect your people and you want to protect your firm, and if you're making a contribution, which quite frankly a lot of staffing companies don't, but still you've got to when you bring in a plan, you are, as a staffing company, you are now the plan sponsor, so you have the fiduciary responsibility, and that's important to know, that you've got to put the right plan in place for your people. So you also want to make sure you've got stable pricing. You also want to make sure you got day one benefits. All of those things count. One of the things that we've seen a lot of in the market, Brad, and it's just, we had a large provider. They went out of business at the beginning of 2025. I mean, kind of flip the whole industry on their head, if you will. And I had a lot of companies calling and saying, what are we supposed to do? So on and so forth. And so we made no outbound calls to the industry during that time. I told my sales team, don't, because everybody was calling. It was like a feeding frenzy kind of thing. And I didn't want to be that firm or that guy, if you will. And so I just said, everybody just wait and let's help people, let's help them and give them guidance where they need it. And so we started getting a lot of proposals, or a lot of plan designs come across our desk, which we hadn't really dialed into, shame on me, before. And what we learned is that the majority of the plans that were in the marketplace are bundled plans. What that means, Brad, is that if you're in the staffing industry, I use the number 40. It's really 50. But 40% of the people that come through your door are going to be on some kind of household coverage, whether it's their spouse's insurance, they're under 26, they're on their parents, what have you. They're going to have 40% of the people that come through your door are going to have some kind of coverage. And it's going to be medical. And so, I think I've shared the story with you about FreeRx, and you guys have done a bunch of materials around it. And so we've got this great plan offering 1,000 plus medications, $5.99 a week for individuals, $6.99 a week for their entire family, and it includes a 70,000 pharmacy network. They can go pick their meds up at their urgent acute medications right at the drugstore. All of that. So that person, that one of those 40% people comes in through your door, and you've got those bundled plans in place. Let's say they want to buy FreeRx because they don't need medical. They're already on household coverage. So they go to buy FreeRx. Well, they can't buy that FreeRx plan unless they buy a medical plan. So now that $6.99 benefit that would have covered medications and urgent care for their entire family now costs them $36 because they got to buy a medical plan with it. And then the other thing that those plan designs do is they require you, like, let's say you pick family coverage. You've got you and your daughter. Let's say I've got a 2-year-old daughter. Well, so I buy family coverage because I want medical for my kid as well. And so I buy medical for my child and I, and then I go to buy vision. Well, now I can't just buy vision for myself. I've got to buy vision for myself and my 2-year-old toddler. Well, chances are my toddler doesn't need vision. So these plans kind of pigeonhole your people into two things are going to happen. One, they're not going to buy it because they can't afford it. Or two, they're going to feel like you really don't care about it. Because why are you trying to force me to buy something I don't need? And that's not, I know the staffing industry all too well to know that nobody put those plans in place knowing that, because that's not how we operate in staffing. It's just not. We care about our people. We care too much. And so this was why that was so surprising to me when I started to see all this come across my desk. So those are just a couple of things.
So unbundling that, the power then goes into the hands of the candidate who can make decisions and educated decisions for themselves.
Yes. And that's a really exciting part of the whole journey. And I'll tell you a little bit of it's always embarrassing for me when we introduce new products or new things, because it usually is because I screwed something up prior. uh, or didn't do something right, or didn't correct something soon enough, what have you. But we started this journey, Brad, like 3 years ago. It's been 2.5, 3 years now. We have a bilingual call center, and we pride ourselves on having a less than 2% abandonment rate, answering the calls live, all of that. But we've got about 60% of the calls that come into our call center are, I need an identification card. Where's the closest doc to me? Is this doctor is my doctor in network? I'm at the doctor. I need an identification card. All kinds of things that are really quick to be solved. And with the technology we have today, it can be solved in an instant. So those calls, I'd like to have an AI call center that would catch those calls and that would also serve people after hours. So we're not doing away with our call center by any means. We're going to have all our live agents, probably even add some this year, but we want to have those questions answered 24/7 and be able to serve people. So as part of this exercise, and I engaged 2 AI firms that didn't work out. It was kind of like the wild, wild west. I finally called a dear friend of mine, David Jandro, who used to be one of the regional presidents of Staffmark, divisional presidents, back when I met him 25 years ago. And then he went out and he built a ATS system. He sold that Indeed for a bunch of money. And then he was doing a new thing, AI boat bot that connects the yachts and their vendors. And he doing all that. And he's out in California working on that. And I'm like, hey, buddy, I got this situation here, and I'm about $500,000 into this, and I can't trust anybody, and I need some help. And so David and I started looking at everything we do, basically. And one of the things that came out of it was we started to look at our enrollment, and we started to look at the way we enroll, and we started to look at our brochures. And Brad, David says to me, he says, hey, Carl, he said, I don't want to call your baby ugly, but, and I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah, but he says, you got a 22-page brochure. And he said, nobody's going to read that. And one of the things he pointed out to me is in that brochure, the first thing in that brochure was our Stay Healthy MEC plan. Well, I'd been scratching my head for quite some time, wondering why we had so many people enrolled in our MEC plan, because I don't believe in it. I don't believe in our MEC plan for staffing. It's a government program that keeps people out of the penalty box, but I don't believe it's a viable benefit for your everyday worker. So this is like completely against my belief system, right? Everything that's going on here, I'm like, oh man. So I said, push that all the way down to the bottom. And then I got pushback from the finance department. They're like, well, we make more compensation on that. I said, I don't care. It's the wrong product for staffing. Whoop, all the way to the bottom. And so we did that. And then it got us into a predictive enrollment platform. So we're now using the AI to design this enrollment program. And what it does is it flips the actuaries on their head. So it's actually upside downing the insurance piece of it. And it's showing you that if you had an accident, or it asks you a bunch of life questions, and then makes a recommendation based on the offerings that we have, what would be best for you. And it'll even tell you not to buy something if it doesn't think it's, so it'll say, no, don't buy the MVP plan. You're better off. Yeah. So it's not just steering you into, we designed the system. So this is a really neat way of introducing the products. And also it's going to help our clients from a standpoint of it'll be more of a retention tool. And it's also the way we're looking at this is our clients front facing, right? We got to be front facing just like the client. So we want this to be the best app for the employees to come into, because everything that we do is a reflection of our clients. Yeah. And I drive that through our people all the time, because, when it's this way with life too. If you're, I'm going to be motivated only so much by the goals I set for myself, but life becomes so much more meaningful when we're doing things for other people. And that's the way our company looks and operates, is that we look at it from the staffing industry standpoint, and we're trying to better their appearance to the people they hire, and their appearance to the people that the clients they want to bring on. That's our job. So that's just another piece of kind of what we're trying to address on that end of it.
Unbundling benefits to me sounds like a huge differentiator for the staffing firms that are taking advantage of it, right? You're able to then go to market not only with the jobs that you have to fill, but you can also advertise the fact that you have access to an unbundled benefits plan that the end individual, the associate that's going to get this job is going to have access to. I find a lot of staffing firms they're trying to sell the job, and they're listing jobs on their career portal, on their job board, whatever it might be, through pre-qualification, right? Here's what you'll do if you get this job. But they're not selling the actual what's in it for me, Brad Biley, the applicant, in applying for this job. Yes, I want a job that I enjoy, but at the end of the day, I also have 2 small kids. I have a wife. I have people that I have to take care of that are counting on me. So what I like about where you're headed with sort of unbundling this and what your firm's doing and what everything's doing over there is, okay, we now have an advantage as a staffing firm to bring in the right candidates based on the unbundled benefits that we can now offer them as well. It's a huge differentiator.
Yes. No, it's unbelievably, and, to the point that, David Jondro, my buddy that is helping me with this platform, who used to be the president of the Staff Mark division, and he was, I think, the largest division in Staff Mark at that time, by far, profitability wise. He said to me, Carl, why wasn't a staffing company just pay for FreeRx after 30 days? And I said, why is that, David? He said, because it's all profit after that. And if that's a retention tool and they're going to stay because they've got that benefit, he's like, why would? And I'm like, that's an interesting point.
You said the retention is what, 4 to 5 extra weeks you're typically seeing?
Yeah. And that's pure profitability. Once you get past that marker, whatever that marker is for your firm, it could be 30 days, 31 days to 45 days. It's somewhere in there that those people become incredibly profitable, right? So I thought that was an interesting view of another way that you could use some of these benefits and really maximize your leverage. One of the things that I'll share with you, Brad, is out of that 40%, I got really curious as to how many people were coming in the door and buying just one product, right? Because that would, to me, in my mind, that would represent that 40%. How many people are just coming in, they don't need medical, so they just want life, or they just want dental or FreeRx. It's on any given Sunday, we did a 1-year look back. On any given Sunday, it's between 9 and 11%. So let's just say 10% of that 40%, which is 25% of your total hires, are now electing just one. So if that tells you what kind of difference that makes, you're missing 10% of the people that could be. So now take that and run it across your financials. What if I change my benefit plan and increase my EBITDA by 10%? No, I said that's a cool way to approach it.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what it'll do.
Because the thought would be that these people are going somewhere else where they can take advantage of this if you are not providing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they can go to one of our other clients.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I think, what's interesting on the staffing side of ops, and I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I am thinking about it now just because of this conversation. We talk about retention on the client side of things. We want to retain our clients. We want to retain and get more job orders from our clients. I don't know that staffing firms are doing enough to retain candidates. And I think this is an interesting conversation, Carl, because, and maybe they are, and I'm just not exposed to the conversations over here at Haley because selling is incredibly difficult right now. And those are the conversations that I'm on. But it sounds like a lot of people are spending more time worried about client retention than they are candidate retention.
Yeah. And your candidates are your money. I mean, that's your inventory. That's your widget.
Right.
I mean, if you don't have candidates, you don't have anything.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the markets are doing. The market can do whatever it wants. If you don't have candidates, you're not in the game.
Right. I mean, it's great to have the order, but if you can't fill it, what's it matter? It's just sitting on your desk, stressing your team out.
Right. Exactly.
So when we think about then retention, having the right benefits in place, and in your mind, the unbundled benefits in place is a major unlock for retaining those top individuals and attracting them.
Big time. And, we may not understand this because, we're in a different part of the industry, or we're a provider, but that frontline worker, they sign up for dental. They call the dentist and they can't get in. They can't get in to get their teeth cleaned for a month. they're probably going to stay for that for an extra month because they're going to get their teeth cleaned and it's going to be paid. Think about it, you know? So those benefits and the ability to use those benefits, and that's why everything we do, if you have a deduction on Friday, your coverage is effective the following Monday. So it's boom, it's right there. And that's no waiting periods, no, because that's what keeps the people around. That's what makes them say, okay, I'm going to say, I got to go get this checkup. I got to get to the doctor. I've got to get my meds filled. Well, this is now all of a sudden the employer is their venue to get all their prescriptions for so much less than they got them for before. We built a diabetes plan and we just finished the negotiations last week. We've got the least expensive insulin on the market, bar none, through FreeRx. So you can go get your insulin. We just put in a GLP-1 program for $299 a month. Your doctor, your consulting, your GLP-1, everything, $299 a month, not $1,500, not $1,400. So, and then you've got all your virtual health. So the FreeRx plan has your virtual urgent care, but you can also buy virtual primary care. So a lot of these people, like I didn't have insurance until I was about 33 years old. I didn't think I needed it. I was invincible, right? And it's kind of embarrassing to say that, but yeah, I didn't have insurance, and
you're probably not alone. You know, you're saying that from a seat where you have the first hands-on experience with it. You're probably not alone in that claim, though.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I'm not. But if you think about it, somebody walks in, they're perfectly healthy, they're and it's I think our stats and staffing, like male to female, is I think our average age is between 32 and 38 years old. But in my 30s, I would have been happy had I had FreeRx, get all my prescriptions. I'd have virtual urgent care. I could get my acute stuff right from my local pharmacy. And then I could buy virtual primary care. So for under $12 a week, I've got a doctor and all my medications and everything's covered. I mean, you can't do that anywhere else.
You can't get anything for $12 a week, Carl. I can't buy Peacock on my TV for less than $12 right now. No. My wife and I were just looking at renewing that subscription. That's another bill that we get every month. It's crazy.
Yeah, I signed up for Hulu because we wanted to watch something my wife did a couple of months ago, and it hit me for $95. I was like, what?
We just renewed Peacock yesterday. I mean, this is a huge side note. My son loves Super Mario right now, and it was on Peacock. And I was like, buddy, I really don't want to renew Peacock. It's like $10.99 a month. He's 4. He doesn't understand this. I'm like, buddy, we just can't right now. And finally, my wife was like, let's just do it. Just do it. But every streaming service is another $10 a month, and at the end of the day, I'm paying more than if I just had cable. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, all of a sudden you got $120 you're paying all these different channels.
Right. It would have been easier if I just kept cable.
Yeah, Carl, I like Landman, so I got to pay $10.99 to watch Landman on Paramount.
Right. It's crazy. Carl, I want to ask you this. It gets us a little bit away from benefits, but because you do have your ear incredibly low to the ground as it relates to staffing and recruiting, I want to ask you this one question. What do you think the best firms are doing differently right now?
Well, I think there's a couple of big areas. You've got your whole AI push. The ones that I see adapting with AI that are really doing well are the ones that have realized that it's a middleware. And I think that's where we've got to be careful with how we utilize AI. It does a lot for us. But I know during the development of this project, we started off using some large language models. 11 Labs was one of them. I think Brad was another. But 11 Labs, for instance, just take that large language model. A lot of these large language models are programmed to keep you banging the large language model, right? They keep sending you back to it because every time you ping it, it charges you. So it was costing me about $3.60 a minute to answer those calls, because it was keep pinging the large language model. What we did when we figured that out, we're like, well, that's cute, but it doesn't really work for us. So we kept it from pinging the large LLM. We ended up just ditching 11 Labs and we built our own LLM. So we didn't program it to do that, but we kept it from banging the large language model. And we just started it running at APIs. So it's asking our systems who already have the data for the data instead of it trying to go through a large language model. So we cut our costs to, I think, about 15 cents a minute. from $3.60. So it's those kind of things that once you start digging into this and you start digging into the characters in the industry and finding out who's a character and who's not a character. It's similar to when we started to build FreeRx, all the PBMs and the different pricing and things like that. I mean, I get asked the question a lot of, wow, why are prices so high? Why are the price of medication so high in the United States? And people want to go off on big pharma. And I'm like, look, it's not big pharma. Okay, just drop that, because one, big pharma invents these medications that help us big time, and they're going to try. They're a business, right? They're going to try and get the most for their product. However, when we went into this, we just started. We were we were so naive, and so we didn't know anything, right? And there's a cool thing about being stupid is that I just admit it. And about being stupid is that you just start peeling stuff away, and you don't know the ramifications until. And then some of the stuff you throw away, and you see that there's no ramifications. It's like, oh, we just lost, half of our pricing model. We just tossed out the window, and it didn't make a difference. But when you look at the medications and what's evolved over the last, call it 60 or 70 years in the United States, since penicillin was invented in 1947, the model, the distribution model. So we created the pharmacies, and we're going to the pharmacies, and then you've got your doctors and, all these different channels. Well, every time you add a channel, you're adding cost. You
Someone's
add a
hand's coming
PBM.
out. Yep.
Yeah. So when we added a PBM to our pharmacy model, we didn't add a PBM to all 1,000 medications. We added a PBM to those 128 acute medications so that people could go right to the pharmacy and pick those up. But I can't pay their fees on all 1,000 medications and still deliver it to you at $5.99 and $6.99 a week for your whole family. So, those are things that we were able to peel out that we don't miss. And now if you think about it, a pharmacy, Brad, is, that sits on your corner, your Walgreens or your CVS, that's up on the corner near your house. They need about 5 to 6 pharmacists, right, to run that one location. So then when you take 100 locations in one state for CVS, that's now 500 pharmacists. I can run 100,000 square foot distribution pharmacy with 5 pharmacists. So now I'm able to take what would have looked like 1,000 pharmacists and boil it down to 5. So that's where the economics of scale are where this plays in. And I'll share this with you too. Our pricing in the public market is 100% more than our pricing to staffing. And the reason for that is because of the high turnover in staffing. Now, people, once they leave, they can purchase FreeRx in the public market and carry it with them. But what we did is, because the turnover is so high and people aren't utilizing the plan as much as they would if they were in the public market and on it for 3 or 4 years at a time, we took that savings and pushed it back into and gave it back to the people instead of putting it in our pocket. And that has turned out, we put over 200,000 temporaries through this plan in the last 2 years. It's been an incredible program, and it's saved people a ton of money. And the other thing I think that's worth sharing is when we started FreeRx, we really thought, Brad, that it would be more of a rural market, that it would serve the people that were in more of a rural demographic that didn't have access to, driving 5 minutes up the road to CVS and all that. And so as we were designing all this stuff and buying into pharmacies and distribution models and all that fun stuff, all these pharmacies started closing. I mean, we've lost half of our pharmacies in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think just about all of the Rite Aids by us closed, and I think half of the CVS is closed.
Rite Aid's bankrupt. CVS closed at least half their stores. Walgreens closed about 60%. So, and what's happened is that in your large cities like Atlanta, LA, Detroit, Boston, you name it. I went to Boston. We were actually at a Bullhorn event, and in Boston, and we were walking around. I didn't see pharmacy anywhere. And that's what happened is people were coming in and especially in the sanctuary cities, and they're stealing all the stuff out of the pharmacies, and they can't stay open. They just close the stores. And so now your big cities where you've got a lot of your temporary employment needs, where your big companies are, they've got no pharmacies in them. So that even leaves people in more of a bind. And when people can't get their medications, they start having the side effects. They start missing doses. It causes a lot of problems. And so that's one of the things that we want to be an answer to as well.
Yeah. Carl, before I get you to our rapid fire round, I want to give you the floor. You just talked a heck of a lot about FreeRx, but I do want to give you the floor to talk about yourself, both companies, if you'd like, and have the space to do that.
Sure. I think the most important thing to say about is myself and the companies is that, we genuinely, we care about the industry. We care about the welfare of staffing. We care about the welfare of the people. We're married to this industry. This is the industry that built Benefits in a Card. It's the industry that's built FreeRx, Benefits Sync, the Benefits Wizard. We've got a myriad of companies in this space, and our mission is just to simply help and to do things better than they've been done before, and to walk that line of, we're not afraid to invest money. We're not afraid to come up with new things, and trust me, we fail as much as we're as many times as we succeed, we fail, and even more. But we'll keep going, and we're never going to quit. We're going to keep trying to make things better for our clients and for our industry, and we're here to serve. And I think that's the most important thing for people to know.
Let's get you to our rapid fire round. One book that has fundamentally changed your life.
The Bible.
Good answer. I think you're the third person that has said that on this show. I've interviewed probably over 50 or 60 people now, and you're the third person that said that.
Yeah. No, it is the truth. One of my oldest son years ago asked me, what were some of my favorite books, and I just, you can't start the list without the Bible.
That's a good answer. One piece of advice that you would give to somebody just starting in staffing and recruiting, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you're going to cry, that it's going to get really hard, that you're going to think you can't take it. You're going to think that you're stupid. Keep going, because there's no traffic on the extra mile.
It's Carl Stecker. Carl, appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all of your insights with us, my friend. It was great sitting down and talking with you.
Yes, sir. Great to see you, Brad.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.